Hi, my name's David, and today we're going to have a look at the listening paper of the certacles B2 exam. We'll start by having a look at the CFR B2 descriptors. That is what a B2 candidate should be able to do. We will continue by giving an overview of the exam structure, the number of tasks, task types, length of the test, and the number of items. Then we will see tips on what to do before, while, and after listening to each recording. Finally, we'll take a look at some useful exam strategies that will help us to do better in this part. So, first of all, what should a B2 candidate be able to do regarding the listening skill? According to the CFR, a B2 candidate can understand standard spoken language, live or broadcast, on both familiar and unfamiliar topics, normally encountered in personal, social, academic or vocational life. Only extreme background noise, inadequate discourse structure and/or idiomatic uses influence the ability to understand. That means a B2 candidate should be able to understand the main point of many radio or TV programs on different topics like current affairs, what's happening around the world, topics of personal interest that might be related to family life, personal experiences, studies, hobbies, and so on. Topics of professional interest, topics about the world of work, for instance. It's important to take into account that the delivery must be relatively slow and clear. Therefore, the variety used is normally standard English. Don't worry, you're not going to get a listening task on molecular science, for example. Now, we know what a candidate should be able to do at this level, so we need to analyze the exam structure. There will be 3 tasks. Each task will be different. You will listen to each recording twice, and there'll be a total length of about 30 to 40 minutes. Does that mean you'll have to listen constantly for 40 minutes? Not exactly. You need to take into account that that time includes the instructions for the exam and for each task. The pauses, the repetitions, and the time you have at the end of the test to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. What kind of task can you expect? The typical tasks you can expect are multiple choice. You'll have a question or a sentence and 3 possible answers, A, B, C. Multi-matching. You'll have different speakers and different options, and you'll have to choose the correct option for each speaker. And 4-word answers. In this one, you will have a question or a sentence, and you'll have to answer the question or answer the question or continue the sentence using a maximum of 4 words. How many items will you have in each task? Well, there's no definite number of items, but there can be a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 10 per task, and a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 30 items in total over all the tasks. So we know what we should be able to do and what the exam consists of. Okay, so how can we do better in the listening part? Before the recording starts, it's important to listen carefully to the instructions to avoid making mistakes. You cannot open the booklet until you're told to do so. Everybody will open the booklet at the same time. Please read the questions and the answers carefully. You can underline key words, phrases, for example, and you'll have time to read the questions in each part. So just focus on the questions in that part and forget about the other tasks for now. While you listen, focus only on the part of the listening you need. Focus on the type of information you need to get. Answer the questions while listening to the recording. And if you cannot answer a question, don't worry, just move on to the next one. Don't get stuck on a previous question. You will hear each recording twice. After you listen, check your answers and make any necessary changes. At the end of the test, you have 5 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet when you can do this. You should use a pen for this, not a pencil. Okay? And when time expires, stop writing and hand in the booklet together with the answer sheet. some of the strategies you can use, okay, can help us do better in this part of the exam. Before the recording begins, we can usually predict the topic of the conversation and the register. Is it going to be formal? Is it going to be informal? How can we do this? Well, by reading the task instructions and the questions, we can know what to expect. When we predict the topic of a talk or a conversation, our brains activate our previous knowledge, and that can help us to get an idea of those parts we don't understand so well and prepare for what we are going to hear. When listening, it's important to try to get the general idea. How? Well, when you are listening, you can automatically group some words together, and that can help you form the context of the talk. For example, the words presents, friends, surprise, cake, and balloons have their own meanings. But when you hear these words together, you can guess they're talking about a birthday party. Depending on the task or the questions you are asked to understand some specific information, it's a good idea to focus just on what seems to be relevant to that question. Are you looking at a question? What is relevant to that question? For example, if they ask, what do they most dislike about their jobs? Try to listen to similar words or expressions like the worst part is, or what I don't like is, and that'll help you get the answer. Depending on the task or the question you're asked to understand, maybe some specific information, okay? So, in other words, it acts as a guide to the listener. You can follow what you are saying more easily. For example, in a presentation you can hear, I'm going to talk about 5 strategies you can follow in the listening part. So you know you can expect to hear about 5 different topics. Other expressions like first of all, okay, secondly, and to conclude, give you an idea of the part of the talk in which you are now. So this is what we call signposting. Other words and phrases can function in a similar way. For instance, to clarify, you might say, in other words. To introduce an opposite idea, you might say, however, and so on. This is something we all do, and it's making inferences. Remember, you're not required to understand everything you hear in the recording. It's normal not to understand some words, but still, we need to try to answer the question. If there is information which is not totally clear, try to use the context and all the information you have about the situation to deduce the meaning of what you hear and so be able to answer the question. It's like finding the last piece of a puzzle. For example, if you hear it's affordable, so everybody can buy it, even if you don't understand the word affordable, you know that it's not very expensive because most people can buy it. So remember, try to predict what you're going to hear. Be careful to listen for the general idea. That's what's going to get you the answer. You also need to listen for details in some questions. Identify the signposting language, first of all, secondly, etc. And try to make inferences about the listening. Okay, well, thank you very much. Now we're going to look at some of the parts of the exam in more detail.